Hello and welcome. Today I am going to be going over how to search for a package using RStudio, how to install that package, and then once it's installed, how to go about updating any of the current packages that you have. Also, not just how to do this in the UI, but the code that you could write just in base R that would accomplish the same thing. So we're going to look in this lower right corner of RStudio. Now, keep in mind, mine looks a little different. I've increased the size. We can move these windows around and grip them. I'm going to focus on this packages tab. And you can see in the list here all the different packages that I have locally on my machine. So your list is probably going to be significantly different. If I want to install a new package, go to install. And there are some repositories. CRAN is going to be the official repository where you're going to find most of the packages that you want. And so I would just leave it on that default. I would also leave the install to library on its default. This is going to be what is associated with R and RStudio. And install dependencies, leave that checked. A dependency is just any package might require other packages in order to function correctly. We call those dependencies. It depends on them. And so if you don't have a dependency that a package requires, checking this will automatically install that package on your system. So I find it much easier to keep this box checked. And then if you want to find something, you need to then start typing in the name of that package here. So you kind of already have to know what you're looking for. I am going to install, and at home you could do the same, format R. And you see there are a few different options. I am going to choose the formatter package because I am using our markdown files and I want to better format them. And this is a package that does that quite well. So once I've chosen it, I just hit install. It might alert you that you need to restart R. That's totally fine. Just hit yes. It'll restart the session and it'll go about installing it. You can see it's downloading it from the CRAN library and it's totally done. The nice thing about doing anything in RStudio is if you look in the console here, it actually shows you the code that it ran. So instead of using this installer, what I could have done is just typed in install packages, formatter, hit enter, and it would have done the same thing. Even though when it comes to dependencies, other things, you might want to make sure that you know what the defaults are for running that code. So now we have all our packages, and if I scroll down here, you can find formatter. It's right there. And in this left column, you see a bunch of empty boxes. Well, just because these packages are on our system doesn't mean that they're ready to use. Imagine that these are all tools hidden away, packed away in our toolbox for storage. If we want to actually use something in our toolbox, we need to take it out and get ready. And so one way that we can do that, if I go to formatter, is to click the check button, and that is going to load it into our library, which is all our actively being used tools, and you can see the code for that library. So you could even do that at the beginning of a saved file. If you know that you're going to be using a number of different packages or groups of packages like tidyverse, you can go ahead and use the library command to make sure that those are all pre-uploaded ahead of time. Now there are a lot of updates that happen from developers to these packages, and so you can use RStudio to figure out what those are and then update accordingly. Just hit update, and it will give you a list of all the packages you have that have newer versions. Now you can go through and click them individually if you'd like. For me, I typically, unless I have some other specific reason, just select all and then install those updates. You can see the code that was used, install packages, so it's kind of reinstalling these. I want to reinstall from source, yes. And now you can see it's re-downloading the newer version of all of these packages and loading them into your system. successfully unpacked and MD5 sums checked just means that the process for that package went successfully. So I'm going to let that run. May take a hot minute, especially if you have a lot of packages and you haven't recently run updates. So if you haven't ever run updates on your machine, this might take a few minutes. For me, I ran updates not that long ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and so the process shouldn't take all that long. Now, if it seems like it pauses, don't worry about that. It's just kind of thinking. And then lastly, this isn't something that we're going to do now, but if you ever want to check to see if RStudio itself needs an update, then you can go up here into the Help menu and just check for updates. And it'll say, oh, you're using the newest version, and so I have no reason to update. Also, you can About RStudio in the same menu, and that'll tell you what build that you have. And that way you can just check to see if it's the most, which one you have in case that matters. Well, that's it. I'm going to allow this to keep going and updating all my packages. But yeah, have a great day and do some fun stuff on R. Stay curious, y'all.